Java with Joe, the podcast, is brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, celebrating over 90 years of quality service to our membership. Sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee, the official coffee of Java with Joe, and Real Vision. And now your host, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance, Joe Hinson.
Thank you. We are with Patrick Hinker, CPA Director of Managed Services at Clark Schaefer Hackett. Business Advisors. Welcome, Patrick.
Thanks, Joe. Happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you. The question asked a lot of times about people that grew up here is, where did you go to high school? And I know that you went to Archbishop Alter High School in Dayton. Did you grow up in Dayton, Ohio?
I did. I grew up in Dayton, went to Archbishop Alter, stayed in Dayton, and went to University of Dayton, and spent a lot of time there in and around that area. So have a lot of ties still in the Dayton area.
So at UD, that's where you received your degree in accounting.
Correct. Just a few years ago.
So when did you know that the accounting field was something that you wanted to explore and be
Sure.
a part, have as your education piece and moving forward?
That's a good question. My parents were in the banking industry, so I saw them working through that profession. My mom decided to stay home with my brother and I early in her career, and we were fortunate for that. And so my dad continued. He ended up retiring in banking. So I'd always had a kind of the financial mindset that he was liking and understanding and doing that. I went to UD and went in as undecided business and decided I was looking actually at criminal justice and wanted to get into that route, whether that was law enforcement or some of the agencies in Washington, D.C. My parents kind of pushed me away from that, just trying to be and do the right thing. Sure. As parents and avoid any issues or concerns. So pushed me into business, and I started taking accounting. I think that was my sophomore year. Got some great grades in that, and the rest is history, and here I am today.
Yeah, the rest is history. So, Patrick, after graduating from UD, you went right into your profession as a senior accountant for Thorne, Lewis, and Duncan.
Yeah, I started there in 2003, right after college. So what was new in the industry for accounting firms was that you had to have 150 hours to sit for the CPA exam. So I graduated with enough, but had to take some additional classes after that. So I was fortunate to work in that firm and learned both audit and tax and was successful and continue down that path in the accounting world.
And so then in 2011, you decided to make a change and go work with Clark Schaefer Hackett.
Correct. So I made that change in 2011. I was looking for something maybe a little bit larger firm, and I've known of Clark Schaefer Hackett at the time since my college days when they did recruiting on University of Dayton's campus. So decided to get something a little bit bigger and maybe a little bit more challenging for my skill set, and took an offer to do assurance work in the Cincinnati office.
Mm-hmm. So the work that you did right after college really prepared you well for being a candidate that Clark Schaefer Hackett said, hey, we want to bring on because now you got prior experience, and you weren't out of college that long.
No, and so I was fortunate in my first role that I did both audit and tax, so it allowed me to see the full picture of how decisions made at the business level affected business taxes and affected individual taxes on a pass-through entity. So I worked really closely and very hands-on with a lot of our clients in that first role. It was great experience.
So you left Clark Schaefer Hackett after 2.5 years, but came back again in your current position, which you've been in for the past 3+ years.
Correct. I left Clark Schaefer Hackett a handful of years ago, wanted to get out of and get some industry experience. What I thought I wanted was industry experience, right? And what I was missing in that role was the opportunity for business development, and the need for that just wasn't there in that role, right? The relationships were already established with financial institutions and lenders and state agencies in that role. But it allowed me kind of to sharpen my sword a little bit and gain some very, very valuable experience that I'm now using today in my role.
So let's talk a little bit about Clark Schaefer Hackett. Started in 1938 in Middletown, as a traditional accounting firm. Boy, it's changed a lot since then.
It sure has. It sure has. Still have some Butler County roots, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So at the time, I guess one office in Middletown, is that correct?
Correct. One office in Middletown has since expanded quite a bit in its 86 years. We are now at 10 offices and over 600 coworkers. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you started, how many offices and how many associates? Do you remember?
Oh, great question. I think we were about 325
Okay, wow.
in 2011 when I started there. If I had to guess on offices, we were probably around, six.
Mm-hmm.
6 offices.
Okay, so you have offices here locally, but also out of state too?
Correct, we do. So we have offices in between northern Kentucky, up through 75 into Cincinnati, Austin Landing, Blue Ash, Columbus, Springfield, Cleveland, Toledo, and East Lansing, and we actually have an international office in Mumbai, India.
Oh, really? Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. So when we talk about global, we're talking about Clark Schaefer Hackett. Now you guys are global too.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
isn't that interesting? He's 1938 to start in Middletown. Who would have thunk that in 86 years that Clark Schaefer Hackett would become global? That's amazing.
It is. It is. We've really expanded. We've embraced the opportunity to grow internationally, and have I probably have about 30 coworkers in our Mumbai office, and we're continuing to grow. Great group of people over there, and a lot of high skill sets.
Yes, very good. So Clark Schaefer Hackett's mission is to better the lives of your clients, people and communities.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously being more of a full-service organization, you really get into the breadth and depth of your customers, your clients.
We do. Honestly, and that's kind of one of the ties, and what drew me back to Clark Schaefer is the opportunity to better the lives of our clients, our people, and our communities, right, and continue to grow. We've had opportunities to work into some of our not-for-profit clients and give back to them, and the firm is always looking for ways to just better our communities by whether that's charitable giving or donations of time, talent, and treasure.
So you have a lot of different services. Obviously, you've grown. So could you highlight some of the services that Clark Schaefer Hackett provides its customers?
Sure. I think I could probably spend about 60 minutes talking with you on that, Joe. Traditionally, like most accounting firms, we have an audit and tax practice, right? Our audit practice will specialize and do that type of work for financial institutions, not-for-profits, governments, manufacturing, distribution, employee benefit plans, right? And from a tax perspective, we do business tax, individual tax, advisory credits, tax credits, IRS credits. So that's kind of the bread and butter that makes up probably about 60% of our work. The remaining is some of our advisory services. Whether that includes consulting work or HR work or outsourced accounting work. Everything's kind of in that bundle that makes up that last 30-40% of our work.
Yeah, and in the field that you're in, it's really important to develop a relationship where obviously confidentiality is a key, but you become more to your client a lot of times than just the service you might provide them initially. And probably end up being a go-to possibly for other services you don't provide, but are able to connect or network them to someone else.
Absolutely. So we are in a relationship-driven business. Not only relationship, but also deadline-driven, right, with thinking of due dates. But from a relationship perspective, right, we're continuing to network with banks and attorneys and bringing right people to the table and offering services, whether that's in-house, right, if they need payroll-related issues, or HR, onboarding, training, technology work. We've got access to that in-house, and if we don't, we know we have enough common knowledge to who do we go to get that expertise and bring right to.
Yeah, absolutely. As a top 60, and I want to repeat that, as a top 60 accounting and advisory firm, how many clients do you service? Any idea? I mean, I would think.
Oh, gosh. I don't even know if I could venture a guess on that Joe. I know I lead a couple teams of people, and collectively we service about 170 in my space specifically. I don't even know if I could venture a guess on that, just the number.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably pretty amazing, and obviously been around as long as you guys have, because one of the keys to your success has been repeat business.
Correct.
And you've been able to do that. Clark Schaefer Hackett acquired Strategic HR in 2021. What additional services now can you provide your clients that you weren't able to provide before?
Yeah, the addition of Strategic HR to the Clark Schaefer Hackett umbrella was very instrumental. There was a wide and well-known name of Strategic HR throughout our community. And bringing that group underneath our umbrella has added the opportunity for us to get into more training, right, and being more hands-on with training at our clients and service offerings related to that, or helping with executive search, or allowing and doing payroll work, helping with onboardings of new employees. It's just it's a tremendous team here in Blue Ash that we've added to the quiver, if you will.
So, listening to what you're saying, obviously in your industry, it appears that becoming more diversified as business continues to change and evolve is very important. And so I would say that's why the acquisition of a Strategic HR allowed for you to be able to add that part of the business you didn't have, and to become more diversified, take care of more of the needs of your clients.
Absolutely. And the opportunity for us to be a one-stop shop, right? And if you need those services, we can offer them. So you think of going back earlier, I mentioned bread and butter, right? The audit and the tax, right? That used to be 100% of our work,
right?
And that has shifted, right? So how do we offer different services to our clients that makes them more sticky, and then we learn and know more about them and can help them grow and transition and be successful and reach their long-term goals.
You talked a little bit before about the amount of clients that your group has. So let's talk more about what does a director of managed services do?
Sure. That's a great question. I thought you were throwing me softballs, Joe. So every day is different for me. But if we, dial it back and talk through managed services and what our group does, what we try to provide is real-time accounting and take as many accounting and finance hats off of the owner-operators' heads and take those on, so they can focus on operations and fundraising and sales and labor issues, right? So we try to take as much of that off as possible. By doing that, we kind of offer different services where it could be as bookkeeping or transactional work, and kind of moving up the chain and getting into some controllership work or virtual CFO work, financial planning and analysis, right? Helping seeing those numbers and providing what those insights on what those results mean.
Yeah. So you mentioned before about the amount of people that obviously you have as associates. How many associates do you have as part of your team?
Within our managed services group, we have about 25 right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
so
good.
we've got a good group. We get a lot of work out, right? And we're doing management reporting on a monthly basis. And so my team specifically, not just the 25 in our group, but I spend a lot of time with retail and hospitality specifically. And we issue probably about 700 management reports, right? So think of a balance sheet and P&L. Issue 600 to 700 of those every year. So we're keeping busy.
Absolutely. So these clients that you service, are they local? Are they national? Are they even global? I mean, how far-reaching is this with your division?
Sure. So we've got, within managed services, we have a lot of local clients. But from my perspective, we have, clients here in and around the area, but we also have clients in Florida and California, Washington, Michigan, and everywhere in between.
Sure.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I do a lot of work. If a client has a point of sale system, we're probably a good fit to talk.
Yeah, sure. So somebody who's watching us today, they say, I need some help and support. What type of client is best suited for being able to service by your particular department?
Sure. Good question. So again, from my perspective, we spend a lot of time with retail, hospitality, whether that's quick service, sit-down restaurants. We're actually talking with some folks that own some oil change and car wash businesses, looking at had some opportunities to talk with some folks that own some gas stations. So that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time. Expanding out within managed services, we do a lot of work for not-for-profits. We have some virtual CFOs in that role that work in not-for-profits, work in governments, and we spend a lot of time, and that's one of our primary niches. Outside of that, we work also with some companies that do some distribution and some professional services firms.
I think it's a misnomer, and you kind of alluded to this, but in your line of work, or it could be attorneys, it could be somebody in the insurance business where you learn your particular trade. In your case, CPA and accounting. You also have to understand and be out there selling, too, besides just being able to provide the service. You've got to be out there building your client base. Is that true?
Yes, that's something again that brought me back to Clark Schaefer, is that opportunity to sell our services, our firm. It's something I'm passionate about and I enjoy doing. The chambers allowed me to connect with a lot of local organizations that have gotten me a foot in the door.
So we asked this question. This comes up a lot about obviously we're post-COVID, but you in years past obviously were at Clark Schaefer Hackett, I believe, before COVID, transition of COVID, now post-COVID. So how has you seen your business and your industry change since we've gone through COVID and on the other side of that today?
Yeah, it was a crazy time. I was actually eating lunch at Butler's Bar at Cincinnati Marriott North the day the first cases were here in Southwest Ohio. So I'll remember that.
Yes.
But allowing us to be more remote, right, and allowing us to be successful remotely, right, and accomplish our tasks in a remote environment, that still continues today. I've got coworkers on my team that are in Michigan, Knoxville, New York, right? So we're more of a spread out, but it allows us to meet and connect and get and find that talent. To be successful. So our firm was moving in the direction of kind of an anytime, anywhere policy to allow you to get your tasks done where suits your needs, even before COVID hit.
Sure.
So we were fortunate, and that continues to this day.
So you were in a unique position. You basically started with Clark Schaefer Hackett. You left, you came back. So as you came back, and there was reasons why you came back, what do you see as the secret sauce for the success of Clark Schaefer Hackett over the years? I mean, we're talking about since 1938. It's been evolved and grown. Business advisors today, grown from just a focus on accounting. What's been the secret of success for Clark Schaefer Hackett?
If I had to narrow it down to one thing, it's the opportunity to kind of listen, right, and draw in and understand, right, and ask those challenging questions, right, to poke and prod and not be afraid to challenge status quo and provide feedback and ask the tough questions, right, to challenge. We know where companies want to go, but providing the feedback to say this doesn't work, this isn't working. How do you shift and pivot?
Yeah, sure. So we mentioned you're volunteering and supporting the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance, but you do more than that in the community. Would you talk a little bit more about your volunteer service in our community? Because I think that's an example of not only yourself, but what others do from Clark Schaefer Hackett's standpoint of giving back to the community.
Sure. Yeah, obviously you mentioned I am on the board here. I've been the treasurer for the last 5.5 years. I'm on the board currently of the Leadership 21 alumni group. And I'm also involved at my son's school. He attends Mother Teresa Catholic Elementary School in Liberty Township, and I'm on the finance committee.
Very good.
I think as soon as they saw what my profession was, I was on that board before my son had started school there. So
Yes.
you typically see that. Oh, it's a CPA. Let's get him in this role and get him in here fast.
Absolutely.
So,
And you volunteer and support your children in their activities, sports activities too.
yes, yeah, I was fortunate the last few years to coach my son and my daughter in their various sports, and that's something my dad did with me, and I'll never forget those experiences. And as I continue to grow and seek those opportunities to stay involved with my kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So, as somebody is watching this, and obviously you're a good example because you decided early on, got an accounting degree. Somebody wants to get into accounting, the financial industry. What recommendation would you give them in understanding business today and giving them some insight and support to being able to pursue a position in finance or basically accounting with what you've been doing?
sure. You get into the setting of the accounting world within a college and a university, and there's a lot of push to get them into the largest CPA firms, right? Thinking that they'll get the most experience. I didn't go down that route, and I think I turned out okay. So getting that experience is probably the key, right? And whether that's an internship or even a summer internship where you're working on different things, get that experience. Try to understand if that's something you like. If it is, continue down that path. Currently, there's a requirement for a specific number of college hours, classroom hours, to sit for the CPA exam. And they're actually looking to change that to continue to drive the opportunity for people to
Sure.
get into that profession.
Sure.
So getting that experience, right? You don't necessarily learn on a kind of a typical path, right? You learn in stair steps,
Sure.
and you progress and grow in big chunks at a time, right? So you go through a typical busy season, and,
Sure.
and your knowledge and your skill set doesn't incrementally increase. It's a big jump
Sure.
every year because you're getting challenged to do more in different things, right? And understanding A to Z about a business, and don't be content with just doing the audit work, right? If you can get opportunities to see the tax aspect of it, that'll help you in your career, make you more well-rounded
Sure,
professional.
absolutely.
And we'll help you with the CPA exam if you decide to go down that route.
Very good. So, 1938, 86 years post-COVID, most recently an acquisition with Strategic HR. Next 3 to 5 years, where do you see Clark Schaefer Hackett heading as it gets closer to 100 years
Sure.
as an organization?
Yeah, I think we're looking to continue to grow, right? And we have a great footprint here. Whether that's getting into kind of expanding into Kentucky more, expanding into Pennsylvania, maybe even Indiana, right? We've got a very, very well known name, right? And we've got a great name, so I think the continued growth and expansion within our kind of geographical footprint is where I would envision our management's going to take us. And I think the expansion and the growth of kind of the consulting client advisory work is going to continue to drive our growth into getting to that 100 number in 14 years from now.
Very good. This has been Patrick Hinker, CPA from Clark Schaefer Hackett. Patrick, thank you for being with us today.
Joe, I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Java with Joe has been brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee and Real Vision. Thanks for listening.